Thank you. Gentlelady's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Chairman Biggs, for having this today, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. This is an incredibly important topic that spans, it is bipartisan, it is not a black or white issue or a red or blue. It is an issue that this country should lead on, and we should continue to lead on. So I appreciate the work that you do and the advocacy that to the issue here today. Look, I in South Carolina, prior to my service here, I led a bill, and South Carolina was considered to be the most improved state in the country in dealing with human trafficking. And it is amazing, when you look at the county where I live, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, Horry County is in the top 3 counties of reported human trafficking. It's in rural communities, it's in urban settings, it's everywhere, 30 million people worldwide, and of course the United States is no stranger to that. Here, we've talked about a lot of these important bills. I also have one, the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act, which would allow victims of human trafficking to tell their story and to really get to the perpetrators. Law enforcement love it. Victims' rights organizations love it. It unites somebody like a conservative like me with a liberal like Ted Lieu of California. That never happens. But this issue, I think you see great bipartisan support. So it's really important to focus on this, and what you said today was really impactful, particularly the note that you received, Tim. Tim, I'm going to turn to you real quick. In your experience at the Tim Tebow Foundation, how do you all partner with law enforcement? Explain to me like the process or the mechanisms in which you work with these gentlemen.
Well, in a bunch of different ways. We believe in partnership, like I was sharing a little bit earlier. We believe there's power when we come together. We have 26 official partners, and we work with so many different forms of law enforcement in a bunch of different ways. Me and Jim are both heavily involved in intercept task forces, which there's 5 of them around the Southeast that are working on these exact crimes. We're so fortunate to be able to support C3 and HSI, Interpol, and so many different groups working together. So for us, it's more about a calling. When we feel called into it, we want to step in and find any way that we possibly can help.
You know, and I would echo Ms. Macbeth's comment earlier about using your celebrity for good, and it's really important. I'm glad that you're doing that. What is the most crucial message to you that you would like to share to people across the country about preventing and identifying this material?
I think it's hard to say what's one message, but what I would say is that every single person has a chance to make an impact. Every single one of us can make a difference. You know, every one of us has different gifts, different abilities, different platforms, different backgrounds, different opportunities to use it. You know, some are gifted in long-term restoration for people that are brought out of trafficking or exploitation to love on them really well. Some are trauma counselors, some are on the front lines like these amazing men, but we all have something to give, something to offer, and when we bring it and put it all on the table, I think special things would happen.
Thank you for that. Ms. Cooper, I want to turn to you briefly. You talked earlier about steps, right? Things that we can do better. You mentioned a watermark on pictures, certainly funding, you talked about that. What are some other specific steps, or what are some pitfalls in our current legal structure that you think this Congress needs to address?
You know, I think the most important thing is to talk about 2 things. One, you know, children are disclosing sex abuse, and they're not being believed. They're being put into a court system that just brutalizes them and doesn't believe them, gaslights them, sometimes puts them right back into the custody of their abusers. So we have to fix CAPTA. We have a diversion program for child rapists under CAPTA, and that needs to be fixed. We have to prevent that from continuing. So believing children, supporting children, and amending CAPTA. But we can't just rely on children's outcries, because most of the time they're intimidated, they're threatened, told not to tell, and some of them are subject to some really intense violence. Some of these images are really sadistic. So, the more that we can work on the child rescue side of this, the more children we can get to, and we don't have to wait for them to cry out. So we really need to do those 2 things together at the same time.
Are there any areas where NGOs can maybe more effectively contribute to the collaboration between NGOs and government offices?
Yeah, we see a lot of it. So, you know, we're really fortunate to have some incredible partners like IJM and Operation Lightshine and HSI and Interpol and the Canadian Center for Child Protection. And so the one advantage to being able to partner with private NGOs is that we can move fast, we can flex, we can pivot, and we can meet the demands and the challenges as they come in. Government moves very slow, it's very bureaucratic. So there's an advantage to working, but we can't make arrests. We don't have arrest authority. You don't want to be putting CSAM in the hands of NGOs, right? So we don't want them to be doing the law enforcement part, but we can do the part where we can pivot, we can build technology, we can move quickly, and we can supplement them where they need it.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Fair.
Fair?
Thank you.
Can I add on to that if it's okay?
Yeah,